was growing up on Long Island with my parents, I was under the impression, as most children are, that everyone was just like me. No matter how absurd that certainly sounds today. I realize that now. My father was Jewish, and my mother Catholic. Neither of them any good at being either, but because my mother wasn't Jewish, it meant that I could never be a real Jew, even if I wanted to. That didn't bother me much, though. We weren't really religious, not even spiritual. My grandparents were, and still are for that matter. My mother's parents, whom we rarely saw, were real, God-fearing, fire and brimstone Roman Catholics. The oppressive kind, you know, always judging and proselytizing the people they'd never met. Dad's folks were nice. Good old-fashioned Brooklyn Jews, he used to call them. We'd visit on weekends during summer breaks and winter holidays from school. I was an only child. There were times, you know, growing up when I resented my folks for not giving me a cool older brother or a younger sister to pick on, but I got over that fairly quickly enough. I went to a private school throughout my childhood. Not the kind where you learn Latin or Hebrew, but the kind where they teach classes in a wheat field, and you could play the bassoon in ancient history if you wanted to. I didn't know they were private schools. I didn't know they were hippie private schools, for that matter. I just imagined all schools were like this. I didn't imagine there were any that weren't, because you just don't. It's just innate. Everybody was like me. Everybody I knew went to this school. There was this one boy, Zebedee Braintree. His parents were even bigger hippies than mine, and he used to steal everyone's orange crayons and eat them at recess. I don't know why, but it didn't seem strange at the time. Abigail Simmons was another classmate of mine. She took music lessons with me at the music shop downtown and played the didgeridoo. I don't know exactly what there was to learn about playing the didgeridoo, but who was I to say? I didn't know that there were other schools, public schools. I didn't know that I didn't know any black people either, but that doesn't make it any less of an outrageous thing to imagine as a purportedly well-adjusted adult, which I'm totally not. I'm a snob. Or at least, I was a snob. I didn't know that then, I do now. Sort of. It's an embarrassing realization to make. Imagine a 10-year-old snob. It's like thinking about old people who are socially liberal or progressive and listen to punk rock music and vote for Nader. It just doesn't fit. 10-year-olds don't have anything to be snobbish about. Why a 10-year-old would think that he's superior to anyone or anything is laughable to me now, as it should be, and I imagine is to all of you. But there I was, a 10-year-old snob. An aloof 10-year-old hippie snob child with one Jew parent and one Catholic parent. But when you think about it, children aren't even really people, are they? They don't know anything, they haven't done anything, and they don't even have that much potential to do anything significant for at least 2 decades. They can be cute and sometimes say funny things, but possessing those qualities certainly doesn't warrant them the adoration they receive. Plus, children smell funny, and are almost always covered in dirt or jam or snot, and they poop themselves quite regularly. They do. People who defecate in their own clothes really have no reason to think that anyone in the universe is inferior to them, for any reason. But there I was, 10 years old, and campaigning for governor of the goddamn living room. I mean, I was an only child, which didn't help matters, you know. If you're one of us, then you know what I'm talking about. And if you grew up with siblings and imagined what it would be like to be an only child, well, it's exactly like what you imagined. All of my friends and classmates, who also happened to be the same people, were only children. It wasn't a cult or anything, but it probably should have been. 25 children and not a sibling between us? That sounds ridiculous. I didn't have many friends. I don't really remember hanging out with any of my schoolmates outside of class, and I never went on play dates or camping trips or played sports. I liked music, though. I mean, I took music lessons. Everybody did. I played the Appalachian dulcimer. It's a 4-stringed instrument in the zither family. I now know that it's probably the most bourgeois, hippie instrument for a 10-year-old to play, but how was I supposed to know that? I was slightly sheltered as a child. I was terrible at sports and any kind of outdoor activity. Dad liked to say that was the Jew in me. We don't like to sweat. That was fine, though, because what I lacked in athleticism and outward social interests, I made up for in an appetite for books and television. I loved to read when I was a kid, and I loved to watch television. I still do. Oddly enough, I'm terrible at video games. My fingers are calloused from years of shredding on the dulcimer. My glasses are thick and my friends non-existent, so it's amazing that I didn't take to video games. Computer, console system, arcade, all useless. Even to this day, I've failed at the indoor kids' all-time favorite pastime. I'm awful at them. I mash the buttons in a seemingly random fashion, and I almost never win or score a point in any of the games, at least not on purpose. That's the Catholic in me. My grandmother used to say, video games are Satan's way of poisoning the minds of children, and God knew I was good, and wouldn't allow me to succeed at any of them, even if I was only half Catholic. Like I said, we didn't see that much. I was overjoyed and perplexed when the Christmas of 1986 rolled around. I loved the holidays. I really did. I was overjoyed because under the tree Nora, that's what my folks call our Christmas tree / menorah combination, lay a stack of Ayn Rand paperbacks, a two-button tan corduroy blazer, the kind with the brown little elbow patches, one of those floppy-eared red plaid hats with fur lining, a Richard Harris cassette, and a set of dulcimer strings. I was also perplexed because underneath the tree Nora lay a Nintendo Entertainment System. I had no idea why I was now in possession of a video game system, and neither did my parents. I think it's a thing that everyone was getting for their adolescent children, and it sounded like something a girl with no friends might like. And you know what? I loved it. I was terrible at it, but it was so fantastic I didn't care. We spent all night Christmas playing Mario Brothers in the living room with no clue what we were doing. Half the time we were screaming with laughter, and the other half we were shrieking in horror for our digital fate. My father would jump and yell, and my mother would snicker and tell him to calm down. He was doing something wrong for sure. All of us would gaze in wonder when a new 8-bit ghoul or an unidentifiable character would appear, like witnessing life for the first time. My father and I took turns mashing the buttons on the controller until we invariably got eaten by a mysterious ghoul or fell into an endless pit of despair. Not to mention the sore fingers that we got and blisters from the totally non-ergonomically designed controllers. My mother sat on her sofa in her nightgown and read the owner's manual and the direction booklet for the video game cartridges and lectured us on our strategy. She was deliberate and studied. She never rushed anything, and she took steps to ensure her relative success. But we didn't mind our virtual fate. It seemed appropriate enough. My mother didn't understand, though. She wasn't Jewish. We all took turns playing the games that came with the system. My mother was the best of the three of us at all of the games, except for Duck Hunt. You see, I ruled the universe at Duck Hunt. I figured out that I could get up close to the television set and shoot the duck before it even left the ground. It seemed fair. She said it was cheating, but she didn't understand. And I suppose I didn't understand either. After all, half of me killed her savior, who was also half my savior, or something like that. What kind of person was I to judge? It was a great gift. I was terrible at it. But for the first time in my life, I realized that I was actively participating in a fun activity with my friends, albeit still indoors, but Long Island is cold and snowy in December. I instantly understood what the world was about and how the rest of my life would turn out. Just like that, I figured it out. Fun with friends and loved ones around a television playing an 8-bit video game. The world couldn't get any more complicated than that. And it's a good thing I figured it out that night. You see, my parents were killed a week later in a car accident on their way home from a New Year's party somewhere in the city. I don't know where exactly. I suppose it doesn't really matter. There was some snow and some ice and something without an overly cheap city snowplow driver. I wasn't aware of that then. I know that now. An embarrassing realization to make now that I was back at home, banging on the buttons of the Super Mario Brothers, and they didn't come back. I wasn't worried, of course. Bad things don't happen to 10-year-old hippie snob children with one Jew parent and one Catholic parent 2 weeks after Christmas / Hanukkah who just figured out how the world worked and was planning on taking it over after the holidays calmed down. It's fine, though. because we never really celebrated Hanukkah. You know, we weren't really that Jewish. And even if we were, Hanukkah's a pain in the neck. My mother likes to remind me of that. And also the fact that it's not a terribly important holiday on the Jewish calendar. But as it turns out, bad things do in fact happen to 10-year-old hippie snob children. Even if they don't have one Jew parent and one Catholic parent, that's who bad things happen to. From that moment on, my life has been one less perfect day after another. Comparatively speaking, you know, because I figured it all out. I'd squared the circle, conquered the universe, solved the Rubik's Cube. I had friends, and we liked to play video games and laugh and drink cocoa and sit on the sofa with a blanket and look at our tree Nora with the lights twinkling in the dark living room. After that, I realized that there were people who had more than one child. They were called brothers and sisters, and sometimes they could be mean to each other, and to me. And there were public schools. And you couldn't play the bassoon in history class, and some of the classes were even in a room inside of a building, and not just when it rained or snowed. Some people even got sick and died. Nobody I had ever known had died, except on New Year's Eve in car crashes in the city. In general, people got meaner. And I met honest-to-goodness snobs, and genuine racists, and people who didn't like me just because I was an aloof 10-year-old hippie snob child with one dead Jew parent and one dead Catholic parent. What did they know anyway? Children aren't even really people, are they? They don't know anything. They haven't done anything. They are cute and sometimes say funny things, but possessing those qualities certainly doesn't warrant them the unrelenting adoration they receive. Plus, children smell funny. They are cute, but they're almost always covered in dirt or snot or jam, and they poop themselves quite regularly. They do, even if they're 35-year-old children. My point is, I figured the world out in one night, one instant. I figured it all out. I understood happiness and love and everything that I needed to exist in the universe. It was in one small little corner of Long Island, New York, a tiny speck of dirt in an infinite macrocosm. And I spent the better part of the last quarter century trying to live it up. My folks were great. And I think there's a funny irony in the gifts they gave me, both tangible and not. I have played the Super Mario Brothers on the Nintendo Entertainment System almost every day since December 1986, and I'm no better at it than I was that Christmas night. But I just keep playing, you know, because maybe someday I'm going to beat that level. And maybe even one day beat the game, or get damn close. What a happy coincidence that would be. But for now, I just stick to mashing the buttons around until something good happens, or until I get attacked by a mysterious fool. Either way, nobody else is like me. Not even a little bit. I know that now.